Welcome, everybody. It's December 16th, 2015, our last discussion for the year, remote viewing target 151216. But I'm really proud to announce that I have one student, Jenny Tyson, who's just back from advanced CRV training with Lori Williams. And so she normally sends in a session and she's worked it, but everybody's pretty crazy busy, and Bob Favreau's down with Lori right now with post-advanced training, and I was just sharing with Jenny that, oh, excuse me, my nose is going to itch. That'll look great on camera. That he thanked me profusely. He didn't thank me quite so much at the time. He mostly stuck with me. I retasked him 10 times on one target, and I just kept sending him back in, and he thanked me for making him stick with it. And I have one student, Ron, whose eyesight is failing. He just emailed me today and says he's going to have to stop remote viewing because he just can't see. And he's kind of been going downhill in that way. And families kept him really busy. He tried to get into advanced, but he'd been out of training so long that he had to get back into it and just was not able to do it. And he regrets not being an advanced remote viewer now, because he tried to start earlier in the year. And Jay and Leisha are making good progress. Jay's been stuck with P1. His whole session's popping through in P1, so we're trying to teach him control, and he's been in what I call CRV boot camp, and he's not been allowed to do much of anything except work P1 targets, but he did work on tonight, but it's really late where he lives, and so he's not here. And Leisha's lived through a move and electronic failures and issues with trying to get herself squared around with her home routine, and she's making progress too. But so anyway, everybody's really busy, me included. And we are having this discussion a week early. And the fact that this happens a lot in December doesn't bother me a bit. Just gives us a night of open mic to do with what we will, although I hope that we don't just sit here and blather on for 2 hours. I hope we use our time constructively and find some good questions and discuss some things and whatever anybody wants to bring up. And Linda, I did get an email from you, but it was inviting me to one of your events. So if you worked the target, I didn't get it. So anyway, with all of that being said, I have a question for Lynn. And it'll probably land me in a little bit of hot water. And I can even pull up the manual if I can remember exactly where it is that we discussed coordinates for sure. But hypothetically speaking, and you and I, Lynn, have talked about viewer numbers before, and boy, I'm in a lot of trouble. I have a really itchy nose. All right, so we use two sets of coordinates. It's one coordinate, but two lines. And the first one is like tonight, 151216. Year, month, day. And it's, as you said, same target, with the same coordinate wouldn't come up for 100 years. Then you have a viewer number, and then we continue the filing system with how many sessions you did today and how many sessions you worked a target. All right, now here's where I'm maybe gonna step out on a limb. Now, you being the database king, and I know why you file the way you do. But okay, nobody else does that. And you said that you did have one person in the unit who just sat there, and everybody sat there in silence. And then they screamed, "Target!" And once your nerves settled,
that was not
a trainer.
Member of the unit. That was Ed May.
I know.
One of the researchers who's claiming now that he was in charge of the unit, but never was.
Oh God.
Yeah, he came in one day and he said, "Lynn, I've got the neatest idea, and it
oh yeah,
really works." And I put my pen to the paper and all of a sudden he screamed at the top of his lungs, "Target!" And pen went in one direction, paper went in the other, and he said, "There, that's an ideogram."
Oh yeah, flying paper and pen. There's your ideogram right there. But okay, so I'll try to fast forward then to my point now that I've kind of led everybody into this. All right, so at Fort Meade, you guys actually had more than one viewer number, but you were in this little shack and you were, confidential and protected and all that. And there was extremely good reason for that. We learn at least, and whether or not my students have absorbed this fact, but it's in their manual. If you're in project management, the way to keep a viewer anonymous is if you have a team of 5 or 6, you call them viewer 1, viewer 2, viewer 3, viewer 4, etc. You don't reveal their identities. So my point is, Lynn, not to make you have a stroke right here. And the thing is now, with multiple people training, multiple people assigning viewer numbers, at least a few of us, sometimes we're replicating, and we're replicating the unit numbers. And there's some consternation out there. Everybody's going, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Well, if nobody had the insider knowledge, they're not going to know they're doing that anyway. And here's the real thing. Say I'm a project manager and I am in a court of law for whatever reason. Aunt Nellie's diamond ring was missing and they found out somebody had it, and they found it out they used remote viewing to get this information, and it goes to court because somebody else wants the diamond ring, etc., etc. Okay, so the person who is really vested in their, they want the diamond ring, so they're trying to shoot holes in a case. I have a whole team of viewers who have the first line of coordinates, whatever they might be, all the same. The second line is not the same. I understand why we did it. However, I'm thinking it could be argued that I now have 6 people with different coordinates. So because they all have different viewer numbers, how can I guarantee that they are working the same target?
Because of the first line. If you're working a project, you don't use the date, you use a project number. And this, however, brings up a very good point. This is a good question. No hot water
And I'm
here.
going to put it on the CRV list. I really am.
Okay.
Lori may have a stroke.
That's all right. The project number that PSI uses is styled after a date. Okay, and so the reason we teach this for practice is so that you'll be ready for working operations, and instead of a date, you get a project number for the first line. However, as a project manager, if you go to court, okay, the project manager, let me put this into a regular business, okay? Somebody from IBM goes in, okay, and they're taken to court. The lawyer is not going to ask, what is the name of the mechanic that worked on this system? He's going to say IBM is legally responsible. In like manner, now if somebody goes in on their own and not working with a project, not working with a team, then hey, they can face a whole different set of problems. But if a project manager goes in, the project manager says, a member of my team, okay? And then the question comes up, okay, who reported this? And the project manager says, I did, I take full responsibility. Okay, and that way you have still protected your remote viewer at all costs. Now, as far as somebody challenging, oh, you've got 6 viewers, prove you weren't working 6 projects. Hey, the first line is the project number. That's it.
Okay, so what does the second line mean?
The second line is your viewer, the first 3 digits, and then each project that you have is going to have a certain number of questions, okay?
Do you consider the second line to be part of the coordinates?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now you've got to understand coordinates, okay? This question comes up most often when people say, how come I got the Eiffel Tower with one set of coordinates from one person and the Eiffel Tower with another set of coordinates from another person? The same target can have any number of coordinates. So you can use PSIs and have 2 6-digit lines. Somebody else could say, somebody else could give a 4-digit number. Somebody else could just get up in your face and scream target, and it would still be the same tasking on the same target. What we do, because we database everything to keep track of everything legally and for analyzing viewers and all that, is the second line in a project is 3 digits for your viewer number. So for me, that would be 018, okay? Then I'm working some project, but I'm working question number 3 on it. The next 2 digits would be 03. And let's say I've already worked it once and now I'm getting retasked. So this is the second time I've been tasked to work this project or this question. So the next one would be a 2, and there's your 6 digits. That way you can immediately look at a set of coordinates. You can tell what project it belongs to, who the viewer was, what question they worked, and whether they were retasked or not.
Okay, so you're saying that, any defense attorney, prosecutor, worth their salt, they're going to say, oh, okay, so you studied with who? And then they're going to look at your system, and because a lot of it's public, it's in the 7th sense. They can do their homework.
Actually, they probably wouldn't say you studied with who. They would say, who's responsible for this? And this is one of the bad things about being a project manager. Being a project manager, you're responsible for your viewers and for the analyst who analyzes what the viewers reported. You're responsible for
everybody.
For the report that went out and all that. Yeah.
The blinds, conditions, all of it.
That's it.
All right. Yeah. So my whole thing was to say if, they read the 7th sense, they know you use 2 lines of coordinates, they compare it to other people, they only use target or whatever else is the tagline that they use, would they arguably have a point? And by the way, in this day and age, my whole point was, my whole point, as far as viewer anonymity, number one, we've always been taught to use labels such as viewer 1, viewer 2, viewer 3 to keep everybody removed.
Right.
Another extra layer of insulation.
Right.
The next thing is, nowadays, frankly, if I were going to run any kind of a project that I was going to sincerely consider a project to show the world what we do, I would be figuring out, and where the money for this comes from, who knows? Everybody's going to have a digital signature of some kind, and they're
Yeah.
going to encrypt their files before they send them. So, because when Ed May did his, I mean, they dinged him. He didn't have those options back then,
Yeah.
but they dinged him with saying, "Oh well, you could have used a duplicate set of feedback, and there are fingerprints shown on one." It's like, oh, really? Really? So anyway, but in this day and age, um, such as it is, and they'll laugh at us like little aliens, 50 years from now, this day and age. There's digital signatures and encryption. And if I were running a real project like that, that would be my standard. So, but anyway, the whole point of this whole big, however many long minutes I've been talking, is if that second line could be argued that it changed the coordinates overall, and you had a team, because if I read the 7 cents, I could pick this up, and
Yeah.
I could ask, and it would be something that I would have to address if I were in the hot seat.
When I'm working a project, okay,
Yeah.
I don't want the viewer's number on the coordinates, right?
Okay.
And so at the beginning of the project, I look at the question, and I see this question needs to be answered by somebody who's really good at colors.
Yeah.
I'll look in the database, find a viewer that's the best viewer for colors. That's their real strength. And I call them and say, would you like to work a project? They say yes. And so I say, okay, for this project, I'm going to call you viewer number 4. So their coordinates, no matter what their viewer number is in real life, their coordinates are 004, question is 3, 004, 03, 1.
Okay.
Okay. And that way I protect the anonymity. And if in court the question were ever come up, who is your remote viewer? The answer is, the buck stops here. I'm responsible. I will never, ever give up a viewer, ever.
Well, okay. But circling back, when they say, Ms. Frisch, I see your system. If you trained with, they're going to ask where I got my training.
Okay.
If you trained with Lynn Buchanan, we've read his book, The 7 Cents. He uses 2 lines of coordinates, and the second one changes because it's the viewer number, and nobody else uses that. So how do you know that all of your viewers work the same target? Because they all have a different set of coordinates, because they all change on that second line.
Because
how do you explain that?
Because the first line tells what project it is.
Okay.
Oops. What happened?
No, you're fine.
Okay, the first line tells what project it is.
Right.
And that's how you know they all worked the same project.
And the fact that everybody has a second different line doesn't affect it.
That's right. However, you have your 004, right?
Right.
The next 2 digits tell which of the customer's questions that viewed. And so they viewed question number 3 on project number so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
That's the answer. That's all you have to know.
Okay. Just one of those little details that's been,
Yeah, that was a good question though, really. And
I'll end up posting it.
I'm sorry?
I'll post it on the CRV list.
Okay, yeah. And the thing is, no target is worth losing a viewer for. you protect your viewers at all cost, period. And somebody, you know, work a project and it becomes public and you no longer have the non-disclosure agreement, no, that's over. And a viewer may want to say, I worked on this project, okay? What I will tell them is use your project viewer number, not your real life viewer number, okay? Because if they say, my name is Joe Blow, and they show the coordinates as, you know, 999 or something, then that tells the world that viewer 999 is Joe Blow. And so I tell them, okay, you want to talk about this project, and you were 004 on this project, fine. That's the coordinate you would use on this, okay? Even though we didn't have any double O's except one, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I had a good time.
Okay.
Like, I don't know about the rest of you, but I kind of enjoyed that. Does anyone have any questions they'd ask or anything they'd like to talk about?
Yeah, well, while we're waiting or whatever,
Sure.
the coordinates that we use, the coordinate system that we use, a first line will not repeat for 100 years, okay, because it's the date, or
Right.
it's the project number, and we'll always number it a different project, okay? The people who just give 4-digit numbers, this has been shown over and over and over. You can read it in almost any statistics book or any psychology book even. You ask people for a random number, and pretty soon they're going to start repeating the same number because humans may try to be random, but they're not, okay? They have their favorite digits. And so one of the things we found is one of those time anomalies in remote viewing, that if I give you a target today with a certain set of coordinates, and a year from now I give you another target with the same coordinates, the person, you know, the person doing it won't remember at all, you know, what he did a year before, but he uses the same coordinates. A year from now, your subconscious mind has that eidetic memory, and it will start mixing the two targets. And so you will get information that doesn't apply to your target a year from now, but very definitely applied to today's target. The anomaly is that today, even though you don't know that a year from now you're going to get those same coordinates, your subconscious mind will mix the target a year from now with today's results, and it'll look like garbage. When actually, it's excellent, doing an excellent job of remote viewing two targets at the same time. And so this is one of the reasons why I've been so very careful about developing a system where, you know, you will not get the same coordinates for another 100 years. And if you live to be, if you're still alive at that time, we'll figure something out, right?
Yeah. Actually, while you were talking, I pulled up my email, and here is Lisa's target. So we'll be looking at it here in just a minute. Oh my Lord. Somebody has had a breakthrough on how to write summaries.
Very good.
Yeah. Because before, she's just into a little paragraph telling about what she thinks is going on and, like a little of this and a little of that. We now have some structure going. Very good. Congratulations, ma'am. Granted, I just blew through this really fast. The only thing I'm seeing is your break that you took. You did stick a little indent where it happened. That needs to be written on the right-hand side of the paper. And don't forget to write P2 when you go into P2 before you, unless it didn't scan well, you might have done it. Your paper's a little crooked. Nice job. All right, let's pull this up and take a look at it. That's my only mail, so I'll just close that window and we don't have to deal with that. Get rid of all this junk. Keep the good stuff. And I'm going to bring the feedback up so when the camera switches, that's what it'll be showing. Okay, Lynn, would you like to tell us about this target?
Sure. Back in 2000, a street cleaner in, I forget the name of the town anyway, it's Sichuan province in China, noticed that at this resort, this mountaintop resort where people come and look over the mountain, just sort of mountain outlook. People kept throwing trash all over, and the trash was getting caught on the plants and everything going down the cliff facing. And he decided, this looks bad, and so he got some people to hold a rope while he went down, and they lowered him down and brought him back up. And this cliff is like a few thousand feet, and here are these tourists up on top holding a rope while he goes down and collects trash. And so in I think 2008, they actually bought him some cliff climbing equipment. But he did a good job, and now that's his only job. He's not street cleaning anymore. His only job is this cliff, and he takes these bags down, fills them up, passes the bag up, and opens a new bag and starts filling it up with trash. And he takes about 3 hours, 3 times a week to do this. 3 hours each time he goes up and down. He goes up and down at least 3 days a week, weather permitting. Usually, as you can see from that picture there, he can't see below him, and this mountain is so high that there are different weather conditions underneath some of this fog. And so he lowers himself down, not being able to see all the way down, not being able to see any weather conditions below him, and yet he goes down and cleans the trash out. And they have signs saying, please be a good tourist, don't throw trash. But it said that he collects 3 tons of trash every year from just going down the cliff facing.
I read that somebody said that he said something, or somebody said something about not throwing it, and they said, well, you wouldn't have a job if we didn't throw it over.
Yeah.
And he almost cried.
He almost cried. He said, I would give up this job if you would quit
Yeah.
throwing trash.
Once he said he advised the tourists against dropping trash down to the cliff, but the tourist said coldly that if tourists do not throw trash, he would lose his job. Peng said he was almost burst to tears hearing these words. I would gladly lose my job if the tourists would not drop trash.
Yeah.
Wow. So, let me get Lisa's session here.
This was one of those where there was basically one news article in a Chinese paper, and then it was most of the pictures and everything were copied. The original pictures belonged to the newspaper, and Getty copied the pictures and put their name on it so that they claim the copyright to it and all that. But as far as the information, there's almost all of the references at the bottom will take you to very similar information about it, because it all came from one article in a Sichuan newspaper.
Okay. Here's Lisa's session. It's 15 pages. She did not take front loading. Your admin section. Now, Lynn, am I getting nitpicky here? When she did her POCDs and then moved into her set-asides.
Yeah.
She has the words random, unknown. First,
Yeah.
Lisa, okay. I need to know what that means to you. I don't know what random, unknown means. If you have something that's private that you don't want to put public, you use the words other. So,
yes. Usually the magic word is yes. If you use the word yes in any of this, all CRB trained people know that they do not have any right to ask you what that means.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
well,
go ahead.
I put random unknown because I don't know if somebody's going to knock on the door. One of the neighbors' mother got lost, and she was trying to get into our apartment, which set the dogs off. You know, in an apartment complex, you really don't know who's going to be at the door or at your window, or you know, in other words, what might be in your space causing a distraction that you just don't know what somebody's going to do.
Yeah, random unknown is fine. Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to figure with the unknown curveball there. I thought, okay, is that setting her up for something? Okay, I got it.
No, and I wrote RU under dog, and then I thought she's not going to know what that means. So I wrote random unknown, and that's really what the RU is just because apartment living, you truly don't know. And I'd be working on something, all of a sudden kids are screaming something, and I'm distracted.
Okay. Said here on a former target, so appear to be flags flashing in front of me. There's a note. It was kind of being too close to those wind tube things. Same time, I was in perception mode and was trying very hard to write each perception separately, but it was hard to see them. Lost you. Hard to see what?
If you can imagine, I was trying to describe the target, and it was like I was being hit in the face with colors, and it was just really random. And like, have you seen those tubes? It'll be like a solid tube with maybe hands off to the side, and they have a fan that blows up in them, and they kind of collapse and they move. And,
yeah.
Okay, it's like being too close to that, and you're slapped with one color and slapped with another color and slapped with another color, and you're trying to describe all these colors, and they're flashing in front of me almost too fast. That was my question, because at that point you didn't have my session, and we were asking questions. So how do you do that when you're in perception mode?
Yeah, there's a standard thing in CRV that Ingo came up because this is very common, actually. This is a very common problem. When you're paying attention to your subconscious mind, your subconscious is so much faster than you are, and it all of a sudden realizes that you're listening to it. Then all of and it just takes off full speed, and you can't keep up. And so Ingo invented too much break, and we've always just abbreviated it TMB, too much break. But
break.
what you do is you write too much break, and then you walk away. And you just, you can walk away for a minute or whatever, or 5 minutes, go get a cup of coffee or something, and come back. And you do that often enough, and your subconscious learns through repetition that it's got to talk at your speed, not at its speed. And the too much phenomenon, the hitting everything too fast, that will go away in time.
Okay, good.
But Ingo called it a too much break, and that's what he taught as part of CRV.
Alicia, I am very proud of this session and of you, obviously, because you produced it. Remember, I am not going to ding you because of all these. I'm seeing a ton of nouns that should be stray caps off on the right. In intermediate, you'll be in structure. You'll be allowed to work with nouns. They'll have their own column that I will bring up, just so Lynn knows that I know that I should be telling you. But you guys have no idea what she's turned in the past, and this is a very good session for her.
And that is beautiful right there.
Yeah, look at that.
The city is on the coast. It's a cliff. Land
She's
going
even
out
got salt water. Does this say that it's on the sea someplace in this feedback?
If you look at the map, I think you'll see that it is.
Okay.
I don't know if I didn't go out far enough, but if you go to the Google map and you pan out some, you'll see that over to the right-hand side is the ocean. It's the ocean.
Okay. So anyway. Yeah, I mean.
It felt gritty.
Gritty?
Yeah, it was the best way I could say. I put it in the perceptions, gritty, dirty, just.
Okay.
And looking at the photo of what it is, I think I got a lot of good perceptions on that one.
It sure looks like it, yeah.
Let me read your summary here. The site it's the target, has elements of water, motion, land, natural, and biological. I mean, this is a real this is a real summary, the way we're taught to write summaries. This is her first. The water had elements of color blue, gray, white, a sense of depth, and a smell of salt. Natural had element of trees, shrubs, and flowers with colors red, yellow, blue, green, purple, and pink. Motion had and felt like wind, maybe by itself or caused by the spinning, twisting, rotating I sensed. The land had stony elements, gravel, gritty, sand-like, a firm and solid like a cliff made of stone. Nailed that sucker.
Boy, did you ever, yeah.
Biological, like a cliff, too. Like a cliff. Didn't come out and say it's a cliff, which is hugely important because what if it was a cement block wall?
That's right.
So she said, like a cliff, or reminds me of a cliff.
Yeah, fantastic. Good.
Biological, I think she's been listening. She's taking copious notes because her emails tell me, I didn't have my notes, my computer crashed. So anyway, Biological had elements of masculinity, a sense of height, several with purpose. And the purpose of the target is accomplishment. And she ended her session, picked up her set-asides. Very good. And by the way, you don't have to write out, if you personally need to separate yourself from this target, go ahead. But you can just say, pick up set-asides. You don't have to write them all out again.
Oh,
Just
okay.
saying. Just saying.
Now, in my, just up a few lines where it says the biological, it looks like I ran into gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
Toward the end, the biological had.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in mine, you'll find that a few times. I don't. It's part of the Parkinson's. My handwriting gets weird. I don't know.
I'll tell you, that puts you right down there with the rest of us.
So that's why I started that again, because it. I don't know what it looks like I wrote. I mean, the biocritical, I am, and then
from now on. Oh. From now on, don't. It's good that you didn't draw, obliterate it or anything. That's normal. Just keep going.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the things that we have found is that the subconscious mind is a terrible speller, and it's horrible at handwriting. And when you're working with a monitor or an analyst, in a team, one of the things they look for is when your spelling goes bad or your handwriting goes really bad, because that's one of the indicators that you're letting the subconscious do the viewing. And so yeah, don't ever scratch anything out like that or anything. Just keep going. Yeah.
Okay. I remember reading, or I think it was reading it. I've got your book, and there was a point where you were talking about that in remote viewing something like engineering when you're not an engineer. So you're an artist, but you're remote viewing engineering. The engineer may throw out the project because you're not using his wording, his language.
His terminology, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And you said something about how you understood in just the general world, you really got engineering and wasn't really a people person, but your remote viewing, you were more a people person and didn't get engineering.
That's right, yeah. Uh-huh.
So as you were saying that, I was like, darn, I spell atrociously in real life. I've always told people the reason I know God loves me is because he created spell check. But I do have good handwriting. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just, yeah.
This is another reason for working with a team, because the report writer, one of the jobs of the person who writes the final report is to find out what the terminology is of the customer and write everything using that terminology. And so a lot of times the report writer is an interpreter as well. But that way the viewer doesn't have to worry about it. But yeah, I was never really a people person. I was always into science and like everything logical and all that. Get into remote viewing and I find out I'm better at people than at logical things, in remote viewing, yeah. The subconscious has its own personality.
Excuse me.
Very, very good session, ma'am.
Very good. Yeah. This is
sending it.
This is the kind you take to your relatives and neighbors and show around.
My show-off session.
You betcha. Yeah.
Yep.
I admit, the reason I put that little arrow showing where it was supposed to be
Uh-huh.
is when I started the break, and then when I got back and sat down and started working, I just started on that line underneath it, looked over at my break, and went, crud! I was supposed to leave that space open. I already had like 4 sessions. I had got all of that finished and realized, wait a minute, I should have moved that down because I had the break and the return right there. Yeah, and that's why I put that there.
Gotcha.
I can't erase it and go and make it neat.
Right.
Because that's not what we're doing.
Very
Which
good.
is hard for me. That's very hard for me. I like everything precise.
I know, but you get a remote viewer who turns in a really neat, perfectly printed and all that, printed by hand, and they turn in their session, and it's all during the session. It's all neat and everything. That's really suspect. You really feel bad about even believing anything that's in the report.
Jenny, I know you at least tried to put some time in on this target, and you're having issues with, scanning and getting pictures or sketches where they're supposed to be. Do you have anything that you want to try and tell us or ask questions about or anything, even though we can't look at your session?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to do the session. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
I wasn't trying to do the session, but the summary sheet that I'm going to be using, with the work now, is the Excel spreadsheet, and it looks so. And I've tried to convert it to PDF form, so that I could, for you here, but it will not convert. And I checked at work, and the Adobe is not compatible with the spreadsheet software I'm using.
Well, you can just send your stuff. I mean, I have operational viewers who use the the format that you're using now.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was okay to use. It looks so much better because the illustrations are off to on the right hand side, and I can put them with the gestalt that they go with, and it just makes it so much clearer. Especially with the addition of all the other tools and everything. And I did have a question for Lynn about I do mirror scrying, and this is something that I was taught to do before, and I think it adds something. I think it can add something to the session, but I'm not sure what to do with the illustrations or where to put it in the I know that I'm going to put it like in the P4 structure as a reference, but then with the illustrations, should I just put them with the gestalt that they go with, or how do I need to label them as something that's mirror scrying, or how do I do that?
Can I just double check something?
Yeah, in the summary.
Just off to the right up there, yeah.
Okay.
Now,
do I need to?
Jenny, let me just ask. She's a little she's like on a little high right now because she's so excited because all this big week she's having. When you say you're putting your sketches with the gestalt that they go with, I want to make sure, are you putting them with the part of the target that you were viewing at that time? Not, you're listing the target has aspects of, and then you list the gestalt. But it's more than that. It's another step. Like you may have 2 pages, God forbid, I guess that'd be good. But say you have like a whole page of land, are you the next step of when you're looking at a certain part of the land, that's when they go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's what I've been doing.
I will always put it with the information that describes the sketch, you know.
That you were viewing at that time.
Yeah, and so the first paragraph, you know, or the first lines are the gestalts are so and so. Then you get down later and you say the land is. That's where you put the sketch that shows the land. Yeah.
Then next question, her scrying. She just said she was going to be using it in P4, but actually is that a P6 tool because she just took advanced?
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
That goes into, that you put it in the structure, you refer to it in the P4 as, I'm sorry, it's very late for me. I'm a little bit tired.
She is, and she's like, she is really in overdrive here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's a P6 tool. I'm using it as a P6 tool. I refer to it in the P4 matrix. The drawing would go like, the drawings go sequentially. The drawing would go sequentially. But it would be just like any of the scalar tools or anything else like that, right? You would be reporting it the same way.
Oh yeah, and you know, even in the session, let's say you said scrying.
She's a mirror scryer. Yes.
It's a skill that I learned a couple years ago.
What is the name of it?
Scry. A mirror scrying.
Mirror scrying. Oh, okay. I had never heard that term before, but yeah, on that. Yeah, let's say you do that and you're in stage 4 or 6. Wherever you do it and get the information, that's where you would put it in your session. Now, in the summary, you put it wherever it matches the information you're reporting. Okay. So, but yeah, you just put it right with it. Yeah.
Okay, here is a thing on mirror scrying.
Oh my God.
Bad? Sorry, I pulled it up. Bad. Okay, bad. Backing up.
Oh my God. Okay, a lot of that stuff is just is
not good.
It's called internet garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well I was just looking.
No, it's okay, dear. I got there's really not a lot of good information out there on it, to be honest with you. That's part of the content of my book, and that's one of the reasons why I addressed it, because I mean the stuff that's out there is really basura.
Well, remember I just went to that last spring, and I can't think of her name. I met a lady who wrote a whole book on how to scry, and she makes her own mirrors. And I gave one at Irva as a raffle gift. And I can't think of her name now. I think she has the Angel books, and there's one like maybe laying right behind me that she wrote as well. So anyway, you just keep on talking, and we'll look around here for just a second.
First off, you don't. It's not something. Hang on, let me see if I can find something that's halfway decent.
Okay.
Look at that ad, a scrying mirror for $154.
It's made of obsidian, probably.
Oh, okay. I was thinking, man, I'm in the wrong business. Yeah.
The ones that I bought a cup. Yeah, I bought 2. They were actually, her husband made them, and she's spoken on Coast to Coast. Of course, as soon as we're gone, I will find a book with her name on it. But,
yeah, I thought it was just a mirror.
No, they're black, and her husband made them the night of the eclipse. That's what I'm trying to get out here. But she goes to like secondhand stores and just picks up old or mirror frames that intrigue her for some reason, and then they paint the back of them black. I mean, and they do it very carefully. It's like you trying to do anything, you know. There's a way to do it so that it's right. So anyway.
Teresa, is there a
Yo.
way for me to give you a link on here? Oh, in the
Yeah.
chat box. Let me give it to you in the chat box. Okay.
Okay.
This is a little bit better here. It's still not as good as what I would like, but it's better. At least it isn't, you know, it's.
Okay. I'm still looking. Oh, here. Looks right behind me. Rosemary Ellen Guiley. I'll bring her up. So anyway.
So anyway,
she wrote a thing on this. You go ahead.
A little bit better.
She is in overdrive. Trust me. Have you got any sleep lately?
Me?
Yeah,
oh my God.
You.
I've been going on just a couple of hours of sleep for the past since Saturday.
Yeah, I can tell.
You know, just trying to figure out and sort through all the information that I got, and you know, everything else that's going on.
Here we go. It's this is the raffle gift I gave it, Irva. It's her book that she had signed and one of her mirrors. So anyway, you can learn about it, Mr. Lynn. Anyway,
I use
did you get your link there?
Yeah.
I don't see the link yet, Jen.
If you're ever out this way, Jen, if you're ever out this way,
yeah.
About 30 miles south of us is a volcanic field that is just full of solid obsidian, and it's just it lays in chunks all over the ground, and the chunks are like 50 pounds each.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat window. Hang on a second. Let me get it to see you. Hang on.
Well, I'm looking at the chat window. Did you send it to somebody in particular, or me, or everybody? Oh, there it goes. There we go. There we go. Okay.
It's the ITC.
What are we looking at here?
This is it's a spiritism. It's a spiritism. They'll be looking for faces in this, but you can get some really interesting things. This is what mirror scrying looks like when you do it. This is what I see. But I don't just see faces. You can see things too. It just depends on what you focus on. It gives you an idea as to what, you know, how it works and everything. It's using it's basically advancing the pareidolia that we have naturally, that we see things and objects like in clouds and things like that. Only your subconscious uses it to relay information about the target. And it gives it to you in a visual format.
Okay, so what are some other mediums in P6 tools, Lynn, that would be comparable for people who are listening right now? Because we are not taught mirror scrying in P6 tools. We play with sand as a medium.
Yeah.
Having extra things like stones and Legos and yarn and
those are all for three-dimensional viewing.
Right.
The scrying, I take it, would be okay. Stage 4 and stage 6. We don't generally encourage it in stage 4, but in stage 6, especially, we can. One of the neat features about the Ingo Swan technique is that when you get to those stages, it can incorporate the work of any other methodology you want to use. Gutting chickens, I mean, you read goat intros or whatever, and you come back with information. There's a place there to report it. If you do like scrying, there's no actual place to incorporate CRV or remote viewing, hardly of any kind. If you do almost any other method besides the remote viewing, and especially the controlled remote viewing, there's just no place to incorporate other methods. But in CRV, especially the way Ingo designed it, you can incorporate any other method, any other psychic methodology. into the CRV process. There's special columns for it. There's a way to do it.
Okay, so I'm trying to think. Even there's no place. Does it even mention in the manual like crystal balls and stuff like that? Because that's a form of scrying using those.
Yeah, it doesn't. But in the manual, one of the very last things on the stage 6 part of the manual is the fact that it's that using the stage 4 matrix, you can report in an organized manner the results of any other methodology.
Okay, because I knew there had to be a phrase in there someplace.
Yeah, it's right at the end of that section on that stage.
Okay. Very good, Miss Jen. You're growing by leaps and bounds. And congratulations on your book. You said it sounds like it's going to print.
It's going to print, as far as I know. I sent in the revision for, and the last revision was accepted, and I found that out last night. On top of all this other stuff that's going on, I was like, oh yeah, this is really, because I didn't know if they were going to try and make me do another revision or what was going to happen with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been quite a process, but I think now it's just I think we're just waiting for the book cover to get done, and it's going to go to print, and it'll be going to print.
Who's your publisher?
Llewellyn Worldwide. My husband's published with them quite a bit. So we just went ahead and went with a publisher that already knew him, since since I'm a first-time author, and he's like, he's a really well-established writer. He just basically helped me with the editing and then wrote the foreword to it. And but the book, I mean, when they got the book, they said they didn't even need it because it was such a unique book. It was so unique that they would have taken it anyway. So I was really kind of excited about that. I mean, that's something, because Llewellyn doesn't often take first-time authors. People who don't have a.
Can I give you a little advice that was given to me?
Sure.
They cut 150 pages out of my book, The Seventh Sense, and when I complained about it, they said, "Oh, well, this is just entertainment for New Agers anyway." I could have killed the guy, but Jim Mars and I were sitting in a bar one night, just having beers, and I was just griping about the fact that they had done that to me. And he sat there and let me blow off steam. And finally he said, of course, you now have 150 pages written toward your next book.
Yeah.
And
we had to cut out, they did have to cut out quite a bit of information, but it's just like, I've already got a second book outlined. So it's,
good.
I'm not stopping, I don't want to just stop with one thing here. We need to get,
right.
I want to try and keep things rolling.
Well, he also told me, he said, your first book, they can do that to you. When you get your 5th to 6th or 7th book out there, they're going to take whatever you write, period.
Yeah.
He said, it's just the apprentice syndrome that your first time author, they're going to beat you up.
Yeah. Yeah. It helps Donald, my husband, has published probably close to 50 books, maybe more. I don't know. I've lost count at this point. But he goes through and checks everything and kind of keeps him from beating me up too badly.
That's good.
Did Jim Mars help you with your book, with editing and stuff?
No, I got it edited about 5 times, and each time, each editor found something that the other one had missed. And finally, I just signed it over to Simon and Schuster, and have not had any rights to it ever since. So I haven't made that mistake again. My other books, I'm self-publishing.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about doing that, but I'm not really well established. I live in the middle of nowhere. You know, it's hard to do anything kind of promotional around here because it's just there's not many people here for one thing, and everybody's Catholic, and you
Yeah.
know they're not really interested in that kind of thing.
You know, I went with Simon and Schuster in order to get them to advertise it and put it in bookstores and all that.
Yeah.
And that's something they will not do. And they told me that it was a good idea for me to have a book signing tour at my own expense.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
And so, you know, I would have to buy the books from them at wholesale, pay my own ways, and set up my own everything, and you know, spend $1,000 on airfare to go to New York and sell 10 books at a book signing or something. And you know, I was just really out and out disappointed with Simon and Schuster. And my next book I self-published, and it says exactly what I wanted it to say. It's exactly as I wrote it. I haven't done the you know, the advertising and all that to put it in book fairs and everything, but I can do that really through the publisher, the self-publisher. They will take care of all of that if I just, you know, set up the instructions for it. And yeah, I will never go through somebody like Simon and Schuster ever again.
Yeah. Llewellyn does. Llewellyn does have a like a promotions department, and they do work like they'll work with Donald. Now my husband, he's a tower hermit. He's kind of like the person that would live at the North Pole, and if he was there writing all day, never seeing another human being, he'd be perfectly happy. You know, and he doesn't do public speaking at all. And they were still able to promote his books well enough to get some decent to make some halfway decent sales. They do like interviews and stuff like that. I think it's mostly what they do now. They hook you up with interviews and things like that. They have a book fair every year, but it's out in Minnesota, and it's really aside from the fact that I'm not really particularly fond of planes. I don't think I want to go out to Minnesota for spend all that money going out there for that sort of thing. I would rather go to IRBA or something like that. That's where I'm going to be learning something rather than going and doing a promotion.
Right.
I mean, my focus is always on more on like education than I'm not. I don't know. I'd rather teach than do anything.
Yeah. Well, they say if your name's not Monica Lewinsky, you're not going to make anything off a book anyway. So.
No. At $1 copy, I don't think so. The nice thing about Llewellyn does do for you is they publish the book in other countries. So I know we'll probably get a Russian publication out of it and possible Japanese as well.
That's good. Russia, one of the Russian publishers and one of the Japanese publishers and an Australian publisher have all written to Simon and Schuster to, get publication rights to my book in the different countries. And so far, it's come out in Italian. And Simon & Schuster will not give anybody permission to put it into Russian or Japanese or Spanish or anything. And so that's sales that, you know, they just put up a wall around my book. I'm very disgusted with it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, and you know, I mean, they can be really, you know, it could be bad. From what Donald told me. You know, Llewellyn sells it to anybody they possibly can as far as the foreign rights are concerned. We get books coming in here from you know what Donald wrote 10 years ago, and all of a sudden we'll get a book coming in, and I'm like, I don't even know what language that is. You look in there and it's like, oh, I took a picture one time and I put it online. I says, can anybody identify this form of writing? And it turned out to be like, Croatian or something like that.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, yeah.
It's 9:27, and I thought I would see if Linda might have anything she'd like to add while she's here. Thanks, Jen. Congratulations on everything you've gotten a lot accomplished in the last few weeks. Way to go.
Thank you.
And Linda, just checking. Did you have anything? I don't know if you worked at Target or if you had anything you wanted to say or questions you wanted to ask.
Yes, I did do a few pages. And
Okay.
the last 6 weeks, I've had a problem with do a few pages on the target, and then I'll just stop, and I don't know if it's because I'm using my intuition and studying in a different direction, because I'll just tune into the target, and then I'll get sleepy. But with this one, I did tune into it because I got orange and protective, retrieving, dangerous, hilly, and fragrant. I noticed that Alicia also had fragrant, and I could just smell like just plants. I had foraging, twisting, and turning, and the word clean. I got a feeling of cleaning and mist.
Oh, and you nailed it.
Well, I don't feel like I did because it's like I stopped. I got going, but then I just didn't. And I'm wondering. I think other people sometimes experience this sort of like a dip where you don't go as far as you could go. And I'm not sure what's causing that right now. It could just be because it's been such an intense 2 months with finding a new job and some family stuff going on, and or maybe I'm just fudging. See, I can't really tell if I'm making excuses.
But this gives you the perfect opportunity to learn how to take breaks, and instead of just stopping the session and all, whenever you get ready to quit, just write down break and the time, and then even if it's a month later, come back, write down the new date and time, and say resume, and see if your mind will pick up where it left off. And I think you'll be very surprised that for your subconscious mind, it didn't take a break. This came up last night on a meeting I was at. When I remote view, I get sleepy, and sometimes so sleepy that stop and go either walk around or go take a nap. And I'll come back, pick up the pen, write down the time that I resume, and just keep going. And if it weren't for the times that are listed right there on the page, you'd probably never know that I even took a break. The subconscious mind is amazing. It really is. And it will just come back and say, okay, I'm ready to go to work again now. And it'll pick up right where it left off.
When I'm finished with a session, I have to go take a nap. I'm exhausted.
Same here.
It almost seems as if as soon as I start really tuning into it, that I suddenly start getting sleepy. And I mean, that's so weird. And now I have something in common with this man, because I just decided some months ago that I would just go out and pick up trash instead of complaining or just saying, oh, look at all those trashy people. Instead, I just get my little grabber and my trash bag, and I try to just be neutral and go around. And if we go to the park or just on my street here, I'll just go sort of as a break. I'll go outside and say, well, this is part of my environment, and I don't want to live in a trashy environment, so I'll just clean up and not try to criticize. So
that gives you a lot in common with this guy, because his job was in the streets up in the town above, and he kept seeing all this trash down the hillside, and one day he just tied himself to a rope and had some people hang on to one end of the rope while he went down and picked it up. He just decided, I'm not going to allow this.
Yeah, and I had that part about retrieving and dangerous. That kind of confused me, because the target overall, I got good feelings from it.
Good, yeah. Those are good results.
But I just did 2 pages, and I thought, well, I don't want to just send in 2 pages. So.
Sometimes those are the best sessions. Yeah, go ahead and send them in.
But next time I'll take my break and then go back to it.
Very good. Sounds like a good session. Way to go. Well, folks, 9:34. Get my bifocals up here. I can see what time it is. I think we put a wrap on 2015. I'd like to say that, again, I've gone ahead and made up all the target days for next year. June is really busy. I think June and December, it's not the last Wednesday of the month. I had to jockey it for some things. So, if you, and I have the whole year made up, even if you can't come, if you want to go ahead and register for all of them, at least you get reminders. Once you're registered, you will get a reminder of that month's get together. I set them up for the first reminder 10 days before we get together, and the second reminder about 4 days out. And that way, if you haven't worked the target yet and you want to give it a fast shot or something, that's fine. But I have turned down a couple of students this week, sent them, or I'm about to, I'm a little behind on my emails. So, we may very, very soon not have any sessions to look at. And this will just be evolving on, but I don't know how I can manage to squeeze anything else in. I mean, we can all get together, but whether or not anybody's working sessions, it's open to the community, so we'll just see how it goes. Another thing is, too, I want to start offering some nursing courses on here, so WebEx will still be alive and well and available whenever we want to do it. And what were you going to say, Lynn?
I'm going to apologize ahead of time to you. Since showing up on the George Norrie television show, I've gotten, I think it is close to 80 new applications for training. And so I'm sending them your address.
Go ahead. You just never know. I need to, trust me, I still have to pay for WebEx every month because I need I need this environment. You know, I still have bills to pay, and I don't want everybody to think of this that I'm in this for the money, but, you know, it does help with that. And I don't know, maybe and I've never done this. I've always, and this last year almost killed me because that's what I do. It's like, you can be available on this day, that's fine. That's my commitment to you. But, you know, just so I can survive, I may have to choose a day like everybody else say, this is when class is. I mean, that's when I'm a nurse and I want to attend a class, I make sure I show up. They don't flex for me. So, you know, I may end up choosing to do that because already I'm kind of missing it. You know, it's like I feel like I'm missing it. But anyway, it's like, Teresa, you have to be realistic here. You can only stay awake so long and you can only do so much. But anyway, so go ahead and send them, although I did just send one Lori's direction. So we'll just see. I don't know. I'll just see. So it's like, how many emails can I answer in 1 week when it takes, you know, everybody has a different question and everybody is at a different place and everybody understands things differently, and there's no cookbook answer and no template a lot of times because everybody views differently and gets different stuff and understands differently. So it takes that personal interaction and whether or not I can keep up with that. I mean, even these guys know that I'm not keeping up in the last couple of months as much as I used to. And, you know, I did devise this thing. It's like, you know, instead of jumping on every session they send, cluster them up to 3 or 4 and see if they're doing the same thing consistently. So anyway, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do or manage. So we'll just see.
Well, thank you, Lynn and Teresa.
You're welcome. So
yeah,
anyway, go ahead.
Talk about being behind. I just did a sort of let the computer do a count, and if I put down one email that I'm behind for every foot, I would have over a mile worth of emails that I'm behind because it's gone beyond 5,280 feet, you know. 200 that I've still got to answer. And yeah, it's not possible, Teresa, so don't let it get you down.
Yeah. Like I said, I can't quite figure out how I've known you to just all of a sudden take a hankering and a wild hair and delete 400 emails and think, God, that felt good. And then and it's like, yeah, unless mine was in there and it was really important. But,
yeah. Well, sometimes it's your only defense.
Yep. All right. Well, it's 9:40. Anybody have any closing statements for 2015? Otherwise, we're going to be wrapping this up.
I have one for 2015. Everybody have happy holidays, okay? Merry Christmas. Good Yule.
Merry Christmas.
Fröhliche Weihnachten. Feliz Navidad.
All of that. All right. And same here. It doesn't mean much to just say the same thing over again. So my sentiments exactly.
And thank you very much, Teresa, for doing all of this. This has been a labor of love, and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right, everybody. We will see you in 2016. Have good holidays. safe travels. Enjoy your family and friends. Take
You
care.
too.
You too.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.